Welcome to episode 5 of the Credit Card BS podcast. My name is Shaun. I'm the UC Berkeley graduate that created and taught the university-sponsored course on credit card rewards. I'm here with my co-host, Sherwin.
Hi, everyone. This is Sherwin. I'm a student attending Stanford University. I got into this hobby of credit cards and travel hacking more than a year ago. And since then, I've opened a huge number of cards and gotten countless number of points and gone on a lot of cool trips with my family. The reason this podcast is called the Credit Card BS podcast, some of you may know, we go to Berkeley and Stanford respectively, but today we've decided to put away our differences to talk about credit cards and award travel. So today's topic is Las Vegas travel hacks, free food and discounted hotels.
This is a very exciting topic because Las Vegas is one of the most hackable destinations in the world in terms of having status and getting discounted hotels. And so there's a big misconception out there that to be a baller in Vegas, to get a lot of these cool perks, that you need to gamble a significant sum. And I won't lie, gambling in Vegas would help you become a baller. It's not going to hurt you. Some people I know get some pretty interesting comps, some pretty interesting benefits, but it is absolutely not required. I do not gamble in Vegas at all. The most I've ever gambled is a few $100s, and then I lost it, and then I rage quit because I was very upset. But you don't need to be a baller. You don't need to gamble to be a baller in Vegas. And there's a lot of really interesting tricks we're going to talk about. And so I think the first one that for a lot of people is really, really cool is American Express Fine Hotels and Resorts. So what is this? So American Express Fine Hotels and Resorts is an elite hotel program that is granted to card holders of the American Express Platinum Card, Business Platinum Card, or if you're a real baller, the Centurion Card. Now, some of the benefits of this program can be very powerful. So do you want to talk more about some of the main benefits, Sherwin?
Sure. So it is a hotel booking portal sort of within American Express, the American Express website that you get. And whenever you book a hotel through the FHR program, you get perks like guaranteed 4 p.m. late checkout, which is super useful. You almost get like an extra day in the room. A $60 credit for breakfast, a $100 credit for food and beverages, and a complimentary room upgrade if available on arrival. And what's really nice about using this perk at Las Vegas is that normally FHR hotels are really expensive and high end, which is why they're kind of out of reach for many people. But the fine hotels and resorts that are available in Las Vegas can actually be decently cheap or reasonably priced and actually pretty accessible.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the main cool things about it because, as you said, a lot of these FHR hotels will be $1,000 to $2,000 a night. But in Vegas, you can get some very cheap properties. So we're talking like maybe $150 a night before resort fee or $200 a night. And so it's a really, really cool benefit. Now, I do want to throw in that for the breakfast credit, it is usually $60. It can vary on the property. Sometimes it will be $66. Sometimes it will just be like access to a buffet. It will vary depending on the property. And so it's a pretty good benefit. And then for the food and beverage credit, it's usually $100, but it could be a spa services credit as well. They may give you, it may only work toward the spa. Sometimes it will be a property credit. Sometimes it can be other like more unique gifts. So like maybe a couples massage or something like that. And then I have seen the property credit go up to $125 at some hotels in Vegas, notably Waldorf Astoria and Crockford's. So it's a really powerful program. And keep in mind that if you hold the platinum, I forget if it's on the business platinum or not, but you get a $200 annual FHR credit. And so as long as you make the booking on FHR per calendar year, you'll get that $200 credit back. And keep in mind, it must be a prepaid booking. So you have to pay it on Amex's FHR portal. You cannot pay at the hotel. And any portion that you do pay at the hotel will not count to that credit. And this is a really powerful program for one night stays, particularly in Las Vegas, because you get all of these benefits regardless of the number of nights you stay. And it's actually worse to stay 2+ nights because that $100 to $125 credit you get is per stay, not per day. So you need ideally to stay a single night to get that credit, and then you can just move hotels to a different hotel on FHR and get another $100 plus credit. That is the big brain strategy. In Vegas, this works so well because all the hotels are so close together. You're not moving across the entire city. You're just going a few hotels down. And so combining that with the 4 p.m. late checkout, it's not that hard to hotel hop. It's actually pretty easy. And there's other benefits too, because when you're doing these one night stays, it's much easier for the hotel to give you high tier upgrades. So you're much more likely to get a nice suite above the one category upgrade that they're supposed to give you. So I think there's a lot of benefits of it. I like to experience different hotels. Notably, and I've done this myself, you can, as a side note, so normally when you're booking via an OTA, so something like Expedia, Booking.com, if you have elite status with the hotel, they're not going to honor it. They're not going to give you points. They're not going to honor it. And, so that's the problem with booking OTA. Amex FHR is usually different. Amex FHR will usually grant you a quote unquote direct kind of booking to the hotel, granting you your elite status, granting you your points earning. And it's a really, really nice way to stack it. Now, there are a couple exceptions though. If you're doing it at an MGM property, you most likely will not get your MGM benefits. So if you want to get your waived resort fees, officially they're not supposed to give it to you by their terms. And a lot of properties won't. Sometimes you'll get a nice rep that will help you out if you ask, but don't expect it. And for the Crockford's property, I've had the same thing happen where they wouldn't give me the points. They honored my status, but they didn't give me points after. And then I reached out to Hilton and they said, no, it's not a direct booking. And I pushed back and they still said no. And the last note for this is that for Crockford's, you get a $50 Hilton Honors dining credit per day if you're Hilton Gold or Diamond. But I heard they're not stacking that anymore with FHR. So you can't stack that benefit.
Yeah, that property used to be insane because they would give you a $125 dining credit, $60 breakfast credit. And if you're, when you have the platinum card, you're automatically Hilton Gold, and that gives you a $50 a day dining credit. So you could stack all of those and get more than $200 of free food, basically. But I think they might have changed that recently, unfortunately.
I think they did. Did you see how it was on Conrad before? Because Conrad's the second tier property at Resorts World.
Yeah, so while Conrad used to be FHR, and then now it got moved to the hotel collection instead. So
Yes.
Unfortunately, I mean, that one used to be really good value because oftentimes you could get nights under $100, basically. And then you'd get $100 in food and $60 in breakfast and all of these cool perks. So they're almost like giving it to you for free, in a sense.
Yeah, I wish I had stayed there when it was in FHR. I've seen nights for 66 a night there, and you have 125 food and beverage, 50 Hilton Diamond credit, and $60 breakfast.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to Conrad myself, but I have seen a lot of like questionable reviews about it. So I don't know. I'd have to see for myself whether, it's actually good. Oh yeah, one thing I want to mention is at Vegas, a lot of times these rooms will be around just like $200-ish, depending on what date and what property. So really, when you're stacking with the $100 food and beverage credit and the $60 breakfast, like you're almost paying, if you count those as for face value, you're almost paying close to nothing, which is really insane. And then if you use the $200 annual credit from your platinum card, it can really bring down your cost, your out-of-pocket cost. And I would also agree with Shaun that booking one night stays and hopping from hotel to hotel is the way to do it because you want to maximize as many of those $100 food and beverage credits as you can. Okay, one thing you can do is redeem your American Express membership rewards points at 1 cent per point toward these hotel stays at fine hotels and resorts. I personally think that's a really bad value and that you should just pay cash instead if you're able to. Shaun, would you agree?
I 100% agree. I think it is such a bad value, especially considering you can just cash your points out via the Schwab Platinum at 1.1 cents. So if you're redeeming through this portal, you're literally doing worse than cashing out your points in that case. So yeah, it's horrible value. I wouldn't cash my points out via Schwab either, but it's very, very bad value. If you care that much about getting a discounted stay and can't do it, FHR might not be for you in this case because it's not, it's very, very poor value overall.
Yeah, I would save those points for the airline transfers, but that's just me. I do also want to mention there's another program that American Express offers called the Hotel Collection. And this one is available to cardholders of the Gold card in addition to the Platinum card. The Hotel Collection also has some properties in Vegas. The benefits are not as good though. So you'll get $100 credit, usually food and beverage, and an upgrade subject to availability. but that's it. There's no late checkout, there's no breakfast credit, and there's a requirement that you book a stay of minimum of 2 nights, whereas FHR, you can book 1 night stays. But the hotel collection does include properties in Vegas that are on the cheaper side. So if you want your money to stretch farther, that is an option. And that $200 annual credit on the platinum card will count toward the hotel collection stays. So that is an option if you're willing to stay at least 2 nights per stay.
That's
Sean,
true.
what are your thoughts?
I think yeah, the hotel collection is a pretty weak platform compared to FHR. I mean, it's really just it's so watered down. And I think there a lot of people need to do the math on it, especially for these cheaper properties in Vegas. Cause I looked at them, right? And so a lot of them you have like I think Caesars is in there. You have Park MGM in there. And the reason it's poor value is a lot of the times after it this is a little side note, but this is assuming you have MGM Gold status or Caesars Diamond, which we'll talk about in a second. They're very easy to get. But if you have those statuses and you book directly, you're guaranteed getting your resort fees waived. And so if you book via the hotel collection, they may not waive your resort fees. You might have luck, but you also, a lot of times they won't do it. And so if the resort fees are like 40, 45 a night. So if you're booking a 2-night stay, most of that dining credit you just got was wiped out immediately. And then if you combine that with the fact that, the rates you might get by booking direct could be a lot cheaper because a lot of times you'll get these targeted rates in your MGM or Caesars account that are very reasonable. So you may be paying more money to do hotel collection even after you factor in the credits. So now you do have the one category upgrade though, so maybe you'll get treated a bit better. But it's not like a no-brainer like FHR. Like if you have the option to book via MGM or via FHR, you're probably always going to pick FHR for a single night stay. But if you're doing hotel collection or direct, it's a lot more of a nuanced, thing. So it's not that good. It's nice to have in your back pocket though.
Yeah, I definitely want to echo what Sean said is that keep in mind that for both hotel collection and FHR, you are going to be paying resort fees and taxes and fees, which can be quite significant in Vegas and in other places too. So you always kind of want to do the math like, is that extra $100 food and beverage credit and the extra breakfast credit worth it? Most of the time, yes, but it can really cut down on the value if you look at the opportunity cost of booking directly. Sean, have you had any interesting stays using FHR in Vegas that you want to share?
Yes. So I've done FHR in Vegas quite a few times actually, including very interestingly when I was under 21. So this is when I got my platinum card for the first time. And I was so excited because, it was my first premium travel card and I had heard about FHR and I was checking out these Vegas properties. And this was back when Delano was part of FHR, which was another great, great value. And I was like, oh my God. I was like telling my girlfriend, we should go to Vegas, right? But the problem is we weren't 21. I was 20. So I'm like, okay, how am I gonna do this? And so what we ended up doing is calling hotels in Vegas and saying, look, if I make a reservation there on their FHR, but my parents, and we would book 2 rooms, and my parents were there to check in, would you be able to honor the FHR benefits while assigning them the room? And most properties said no, but the Delano and the Wynn said they would. So we ended up doing that. That was really cool. That was my first FHR experience. But I think my best ones have been at Crockford's in Vegas. So Crockford's in Vegas is a really premium new property, and you could get some decent rates on there sometimes when they have their sales. And so that's the one where you get the 125, and then I had the $60 breakfast, and then the $50 Hilton honors credit. And a lot of the time, if they have a suite available, you can convince them to give it to you, even though it's like 2 categories higher than because the base.
Did you feel like they were
comes,
generous with the upgrades from FHR or from your Hilton status?
I think they were fairly generous. Yeah, both times when I had asked for an upgrade, because the first time I did it, I didn't actually push for it. But the next subsequent 2 times when I had Hilton Diamond, I had booked the Strip View room. Now, one category above the Strip View is their suite. Now, their standard suite sucks. It sucks because it's a big room. It's 1,000 square feet, but you're on the 5th floor looking like out a parking lot. So I would prefer a standard Strip View room to that. But I convinced him for the first stay to give me the Strip View room. The second stay, he said that wasn't open, but he gave me the City View room. They were pretty generous. And this is what I want to talk about as a really interesting strategy. You can combine FHR in other aspects. So let's say you're staying at Resorts World or Waldorf Astoria. These are Hilton resorts, and that is critical because when you book on FHR, right, you need to prepay for the hotel rate and the taxes on the hotel rate via your platinum card for a lot of properties. And that's what you want to do to use your FHR credit. But when you get there, your incidental fees, including your resort fee and anything you buy on the property that's beyond the credit they give you can charge to any Amex card of your choosing. So very usefully here, you can use your Hilton Aspire card to pay for the resort fees. And the Hilton Aspire card has that $250 resort credit per year. So you can get that reimbursed back. And you can also earn your 14X on Hilton. One other side note, there are a couple properties around the world that will not that will let you pay at the hotel instead of prepaying with your platinum card. So if you've already used up your $200 annual credit, you could do I'm going to pay at the property and then use your Aspire card to pay for the room rate at the property if it's a Hilton resort and get that back. So very interesting strategy
Yeah,
there.
it's so amusing to me that these Hilton properties in Vegas are considered resorts because it's just called Resorts World, even though it's not really what you think of as a resort, but that works out really well for the resort credit on the Aspire. One other thing I want to mention is make sure you put in your Hilton Honors number under the loyalty number box when you're booking on FHR so that it will link up with your Hilton status. And remember, just by having a platinum card, you get Hilton Gold automatically, even if you don't have any other Hilton cards or Hilton stays. So definitely take advantage. Yeah, I think overall FHR is a really strong program. And what's great about it is you get all of these cool elite perks, even if you're not loyal to the hotel chain or the hotel, or you haven't stayed a lot, like just by having a platinum card unlocks all of these benefits each time you book through them.
I agree. Have you done any FHR stays in Vegas yet or anywhere else you want to share?
Yeah, so I actually did one last year so I did a one night stay in Bellagio, which was using the FHR stuff and all the benefits apply, and it was really nice. I recommend having breakfast by the pool. That counts toward the credit. I did not get a room upgrade because it was like pretty full. It was like a peak time. But I thought it was a nice hotel and the price was decent given all the credits that we were able to stack. I also did a 2-night stay at Park MGM using the hotel collection. And this is where I thought the perks weren't as good because so for most MGM properties, when you book through FHR, that $100 food credit can be used at any MGM properties, restaurants. But for some reason at the Park MGM, when I booked through the hotel collection, and I didn't even know because the front desk person didn't even tell me until like I called them later. So bad customer service. But apparently you can only use that dining credit at the restaurants in Park MGM. So it was a
Wow.
little more limiting, but they did have a pretty nice eataly that I was able to use it at, but something to keep in mind. And also like the person didn't even bother upgrading me even after I asked, which was kind of a bummer. So overall, my experience with FHR has been much better than the hotel collection. But your mileage may vary, might just depend on whoever's checking you in.
Yeah, it can always vary like based on the agent. And yeah, like I was in I booked the standard room at the Ritz Abu Dhabi on FHR and I was also Marriott
Mm.
Platinum. They upgraded me to a 1 bedroom villa. I check in, it's a one night stay. It's not ready yet. So the guy's like, "Oh, let me just give you the 2 bedroom villa."
Oh, that's so nice. I oh yeah, I have seen people get like really good upgrades if they're lucky on what's the one where it's like $700 a night in Vegas? And it's like
Oh,
the
there's two. There's the Sky Suites, the Aria Sky Suites, and the Sky Lofts by MGM. Which one are you talking about?
I think the Aria one.
I think you could get, yeah, depending on I I've taken a look at the Aria ones and they look pretty good. The Sky Lofts to me they look more interesting because their 2 bedroom one, like the Aria 1 bedroom Sky Suite is like 1,700 square feet and then the 2 bedroom's like 2,100 square feet, so it's like a bit bigger. But at the Sky Lofts, if you go from the 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom, it is like almost double the size. It's like an extra 1,300 square feet. And then also if you do the Sky Lofts at MGM, this is a Ask Stubby video about this, but you have access to the mansion, which I think is like the most
Mm.
exclusive restaurant in all of Vegas.
Oh wow, that's insane. Yeah, I'll have to check that out sometime. But for me right now, $700 a night is a bit of a tough sell, especially when there's
Same,
so many cheap options in Vegas, even through FHR. Okay, so
definitely.
I guess we shall move on to the statuses at casinos you can get in Vegas. So as Sean mentioned, there are ways to get this through credit cards without having to gamble a single cent. Do we want to start with Caesars?
Yeah, I think I'll start with Caesars because that's the easiest one to get. So Caesars, Diamond is the status they're going to be going after. And the reason we like Caesar's Diamond is Caesar's Diamond gives you waived resort fees at the hotel. That's the main benefit we're going after here. And the easiest way to get this is by matching via Wyndham status. So if you have Wyndham Diamond, you can match freely to Caesar's Diamond. And the easiest way to get Wyndham Diamond status is via the Wyndham Business Earner credit card. This is I've raved about this card before. I talked about it in one of the previous episodes about most underrated cards.
Episode 2.
And this card's a $95 annual fee. It automatically grants you Wyndham Diamond status, which then you can match over to Caesar's Diamond. You get 15,000 Wyndham points per year. You get a couple other benefits, but for the main purposes here, you get Wyndham Diamond automatically, meaning you get Caesar's Diamond for $95 a year. Not even really, because you get, the card pays for itself regardless of that. But for $95 a year, you get Caesar's Diamond status, which comes with waived resort fees. You stay 2 nights a year, that's already going to be paying it back on resort fees. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer if you're someone who even goes to Vegas just once a year. And like the Wyndham business card is already a good deal, given that you can use the points of a cost of vacation rentals, which is something we'll probably cover in a future episode. But beyond that, the status itself, matching to Caesars, is really good value. As Shaun said, you get waived resort fees. I think you get free parking. One thing that I found really useful. Yeah. One thing that I found really useful is the VIP lines. One time we went to the Bacchanal buffet at Caesars, and there was like this long line that would have taken 2 hours to get to the front. And because we had the Caesar's Diamond status, we got to go through that line, and we got in within like 5 to 10 minutes. So, that was a huge time saver. There's also this really nice benefit, the $100 dinner celebration credit. It can be a little finicky because sometimes it won't show up in your count until well after you do the status match. But basically, once a year, for being Caesar's Diamond, you get $100 to use at any Caesar's restaurant, basically. And what you do is when you pay, you give them your card and have them apply that credit. Do you know that that $100 credit has to be used one time? So you can't split it up into like 2 different restaurants, like 50-50. That's not going to work. Whatever you don't use just goes away. So you should plan to use it one time. And also, we've had success using that $100 celebration dinner credit at a Caesar's property in Reno, actually. So any Caesar's property, you should be able to use that credit. And, easy way to justify the annual fee for the Wyndham business card, in my opinion.
Definitely, yeah. You go to one dinner and it's already paid itself back. I haven't actually used the credit myself. I need to. Oh, and there's one other benefit actually. I don't think we talked about with this status is you get like show tickets every month. So it kind of they rotate the benefit. But last time I checked, this is like a couple months ago or almost a year ago actually. It was you had 2 tickets to the high roller observation wheel every month. And so that normally is fairly expensive, right? I think it's like, I don't know, $30 a person or something, like maybe $15 to $30 a person. And you could use it like at any time as well. So like it wasn't restricted. Like I went at night, which is the more expensive time. And that's like really nice, like 2 a month. Like you just, and what I ended up doing is getting the tickets once and then like handing them to a friend and just giving it to them. So they
so it's not tied to your name, right? Like you can.
It is tied to your name, but how it works is you first get a receipt at the Caesar's Rewards desk. That is tied to your name. But when you go to the high roller like ticket booth, then they'll give you 2 generic tickets not tied to your name. Is how it worked for me.
Okay. Yeah. So one thing I want to mention is you can do that match from Wyndham Diamond to Caesar's Diamond directly online. Though from my experience, it sometimes takes a while for that match to post. For some reason, they have bad IT or whatever. So try to do it a little before, like longer before you plan on going to Vegas instead of last minute. Because we had a situation where it didn't post until like midway through our stay at Vegas. It was like sort of a disaster. And we had to call like Caesars and Wyndham, and they just blamed each other. And it was like very frustrating. So make sure you do it like well before you plan on going to Vegas. That would be my recommendation. And then the last thing I want to say is you can transfer your Wyndham points online to Caesars, a 1-to-1 ratio. And those points at Caesars can be redeemed for like food or for hotel stays at 1 cent per point. So it's an easy way to lock in, 1 cent per point for your Wyndham points, if you don't have other use cases for them.
That's true. And there's an argument to be made if you're not going to do Vacasa, that if you're going to go to Vegas and you're going to stay at these Caesars properties, that you should buy Wyndham points on sale because you can buy them for less than 1 cent per point. And so you could buy them for
Mm,
less than 1 cent a point, transfer them to Caesars, get a small amount of incremental value. It's only like a 7% something boost, but something.
it's very smart, yeah. And do you know there's a cap on how much you can transfer each year? And it, like I said, it takes a while for those points to transfer. So make sure you buffer in enough time. Okay, I think we covered Caesars pretty well. Let's talk about the other main casino program in Vegas, which is MGM. Sean?
Yeah, so this is arguably the more interesting. Well, it depends, but this is my preferred one for a couple reasons. So MGM's equivalent status to Caesar's Diamond is MGM Gold. So you get basically the same benefits mostly. You get waived resort fees, you get free parking, you're eligible for room upgrades, kind of. And the only thing you don't get is the $100 credit because you actually have to earn, like if you're matching into the status, you don't get the $100 credit. You actually have to earn it by gambling or whatever to get it. So we're not going to have that. But it's a really useful status and you can get MGM Gold if you're matching over from Hyatt Explorer status. Or if you have MGM Gold, you can match over to Hyatt Explorer status. And this is really, really interesting because this used to be the case for Caesars and Wyndham too, but you can match them back and forth freely. So if you hold either Hyatt Explorers or MGM Gold, if you're not stupid, you can just match them back indefinitely, as assuming their partnership doesn't change or the terms don't change. And there's people that have done this for years. And so you only have to earn one of them once to get both of them indefinitely. And so it's a really, really powerful thing to have, particularly so because when you have MGM Gold status, you get the waived resort fees. And when you're staying at MGM properties, if you book direct, you're able to credit those stays to your Hyatt account and get Hyatt Elite qualifying nights. And it's a really, really good way to do a mattress run, depending on if you value your Vegas like your Vegas relationship or not. So there's people that do like Excalibur mattress runs to get Hyatt nights very, very cheap. But just note that if you do that, it's going to nuke your chance at casino comps because they're going to see that you're not gambling there. But it's a very useful, very, very useful status because you can credit those stays to Hyatt, which are very, very valuable nights. Like if I get Caesars nights, I don't care. But if I get MGM nights, I'm like, ooh, that goes to my Hyatt account. Awesome.
Yeah, and what's good about when you book direct with MGM when you have gold status is that you don't pay resort fees and you're like pretty much guaranteed to have those elite nights count toward Hyatt so you can earn status. Whereas with FHR, like we talked about before, I think officially you cannot get the Hyatt elite night credits when you book like MGM properties in Vegas through FHR. So that's something to keep in mind. I also like when MGM sometimes they sell hotel nights at rates that include a food and beverage credit. It'll be like $50, $70 or whatever. Sometimes it can work out pretty well. And yeah, in Vegas, a big portion is like the resort fees, really, because sometimes the hotel nights are so cheap, anywhere from like 30, 70 to $90, that it's the resort fees that often make up a large portion of the rate. So not having to pay those is going to be such a significant savings.
Definitely. And yeah, 100% you're right. The rates can be so cheap. I've noticed particularly on the Caesar side, they're actually really cheap. Cheaper. Like you can find nights at Caesar's properties for like $10 a night. Like I booked a friend once to
Really?
stay at
Okay.
Flamingo for $35 for 3 nights, like all in, including everything, which
Okay, but
is
was it good though?
well, I no, he actually ended up leaving the property. It was so bad. And then he booked his own FHR stay at Crockford's, which I
Oh,
don't blame
okay.
him for. But $35 for 3 nights at Flamingo. I mean, that's about as cheap as you're gonna get anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, like Excalibur, Luxor on the MGM side, really useful for getting high elite night credits, even if you're not physically staying in the room, which may not be that great if you're paying $30 a night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an old property. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to talk about for
I think
Caesars and MGM
I think we've
status?
covered the statuses pretty well. I think the final things we can talk about are, the airport lounges when you get to Vegas, because I think that makes a big experience. And so I've visited these lounges. I think there's really only two that you can access via the mainstream credit cards. There's the Club LAS and then the Centurion Lounge. The club sucks. It was depressing. I was
I
there. I was
agree.
like, when am I gonna get out of this place? Centurion was really good. If you're going on the weekdays, I don't think you'll have that big of a problem with lines, I feel like. And the food is really good. I really liked their food there. Good amount of seating. I had a good time in it. What do you think?
I agree. I've been to both. Centurion, obviously much better, really good food. Unfortunately, now, you can't really bring guests with the platinum card unless you spend 75K, which has a huge opportunity cost. So, I think pretty much everyone has to have their own platinum card to get in, but it's definitely the best lounge that's available right now in terms of food, in terms of seating and comfort. And it's a large lounge, so it can handle pretty big capacity for the most part. Oh, and then they also have like an open bar. So for those of you who drink, it's good value. um, Now I do want to mention, and yeah, I also agree that the Party Pass Lounge is really sad. It's one of the worst lounges I've been in. Hopefully they've improved now, but I don't know. Um, Capital One is going to open a lounge in Las Vegas in the next couple of years. And that's one I'm really excited about because if you have the Capital One Venture X card, you will be able to get access along with 2 guests, is my guess. Right now, Capital One has a lounge in DFW, and I think that's the only lounge that's open right now, but they're expanding. I think this lounge will be like 1,000 square feet or something pretty
Wait,
massive. Not 1,000, sorry.
10,000 square
10,000
square feet would be very small.
yeah, like, but it's like a large one. And from what I've heard, like the food at the Capital One Lounge in DFW is really good. So I have high hopes for this one. And I think, more competition with Amex and the Centurion Lounge is only good for us.
Definitely. Yeah, I haven't visited a Capital One lounge yet, but I've heard really good things about them. I'm excited.
Cool. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of today's show. So, Shaun, do you want to wrap up for us?
Yes, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you want to support the channel, please consider using our affiliate links for any credit cards we have below. It helps us out so much. You have no idea. And if you want to join a community of like-minded award travelers, check out the link to the Travel Lane Discord down below. Really, really smart people in there. We have people dropping these awesome deal alerts. A couple days ago, or like a week ago, we booked hotel nights for $34 a night for a suite that costs $1,000 a night. It was Dreams South Beach, Miami. And we don't know if they're going to honor it yet, but someone in our community alerted us of that. So if you want to get deals like that, check out the link in the description. But yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. We will see you next time.
Thank you. And if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It would really help us out with the YouTube algorithm. See you next week.